Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to our Furman football preview video brought to you by the Ingles Furman Radio Network. I'm Dan Scott, the voice of the Paladins. Happy to be with you again as we come off the bye week and look forward to getting back into play as the Paladins and Terriers will resume the oldest rivalry in the Deep South when it comes to the sport of college football. Do not believe what you see from the folks at Georgia and Auburn who claim to be the oldest rivalry in the Deep South. It's Furman and Wofford. These two teams played for the first time in 1889, which was 3 full years before Georgia and Auburn teed it up for the first time. And in fact, in that 3-year period, Furman and Wofford played 4 times. So 4 games in a 3-year span before Georgia and Auburn ever played. So it's Furman and Wofford who represent the oldest rivalry in the Deep South. Don't let Georgia and Auburn tell you any different, and of course they're not letting the facts get in the way of a good story or hype video online. Both of these teams are in desperate need of a win. Furman is 2-2, having lost back-to-back games, 0-1 in the league, going back to 2 Saturdays ago when they opened up against the Mercer Bears here and lost 24-3. Wofford is 1-3, 0-2 in the league, and they're a late field goal against Elon from being 0-4 to start the season under Josh Conklin. So you've got 2 teams here who desperately need a win, and you've got a situation where Furman is playing in a place where it has not won since 2008. 7 straight losses at Gibbs Stadium. And the ironic thing about it is with Wofford opting out in the spring and not playing that final game against the Paladins here at Paladin Stadium, that means this is the 3rd time in 4 years that Furman will have played this game on the road at Gibbs Stadium in Spartanburg. A quirk of scheduling, and we'll put quirk in quotation marks. But the bottom line is, wherever you play it, you got to win. And it's a Furman team, as I said, like Wofford, that needs a win, needs to get its footing in this conference as we've now turned the page in the calendar to October and starting to see which teams are going to be contenders and which are going to be pretenders, if I can borrow a tired cliche, for the conference championship and the automatic bid into the FCS playoffs. When you start looking at the statistical comparison between these teams, you start to notice from a Wofford standpoint that, yes, they still run the ball well. 178 yards per game on the ground is good by most standards. By their standards, though, that number is down significantly, while their passing yardage through 4 games, 135.2 yards, is up. It is signaling from the people that I talked to a bit of a philosophy change under Josh Conklin, that he's recruiting differently to try and be a little more multiple, be a little more unpredictable, if you will, in the offense, despite the fact that triple option attack that they've run over the years, as I said, has just piled up yard after yard after yard, and they've been a consistent performer in the playoffs over the years. It has signaled something of a change. Now, they still run the triple option. That is still the base of what they do. But when you watch this game, if it's like their first 4 games, they are going to throw it a little more than we're accustomed to seeing them throwing it in the past. But they are still going to do what they can to establish the run in that option game, and Furman is going to have to, here's another one of those phrases you hear when you play an option team, going to have to play assignment football. The Paladins running it for 118.8 yards per game, throwing it for 217.8. Total offense, these are the bottom 2 teams in the Southern Conference. Furman is 8th at 336.5 per game. Wofford is 9th at 313.2. When you look at the scoring offense, though, Wofford is in the middle of the pack. They're 5th in the league at almost 28 points a game, and the last 2 games have really hurt Furman's scoring average. Right now, dead last in the conference, 16.2 points per game. The defensive numbers, Furman has a bit of an advantage across the board in all of those categories. The one that I look at has been the sacks allowed, and I think it's a little more prevalent on the Furman side than it is on the Wofford side, because while they're throwing it more, they still don't throw it nearly as much as Furman does. Wofford's allowing a sack a game through 4 games, and that's 3rd in the SoCon. The Paladins, through 4 games, are number 1 in the league at protecting the quarterback, less than a full sack a game, and that's 5th overall in the NCAA. The other thing that kind of jumps out at you a bit is time of possession. You're accustomed to seeing the Terriers with a huge time of possession advantage in most of the games they play because of their ability in that triple option offense to grind it out. Well, they are behind the opponent when it comes to time of possession at 27.45. The Paladins, 31 minutes and 27 seconds in the possession battle. When you start looking at some of the names that we're going to be focused on from the Terriers' point of view, you start at the quarterback position where they have been playing two quarterbacks for the most part this season. Jimmy Wyrick has started most of the time. Peyton Derrick has started some and has played quite a bit. And going back a couple of games, Wyrick coming out of one of their games, Josh Conklin said that he was the guy moving forward. Well, that was fine until apparently he was injured and did not play last week, and there's some question as to whether or not he'll play this week. If it is Peyton Derrick, you're talking about a guy who has thrown for 307 yards, has their only passing touchdown on the season, and has thrown 3 interceptions. And if that name sounds familiar, he is the younger brother of former Paladin quarterback Dakota Derrick, who was here when I started back in 2011. In fact, on the Wofford roster are 2 younger brothers of former Paladins. Derrick and Tahir Anur, who is a junior strong safety, starts at that position for the Terriers. He's a younger brother of former Paladin Akil Anur. When you look at the Terriers defensively, they have kind of restocked their defensive line. They went out and signed a handful of junior college players who are all starting and trying to supplement or shore up what may have been perceived as some deficiencies after last season. But defensively and along the offensive line, again, what you have come to expect out of Wofford. They are big, and they're going to be physical. Their leading tackler, Joe Beckett, inside linebacker, a senior, has 33 tackles on the season. The next closest is John Beckley with 19. So Beckett has been a tackling machine, at least according to the statistics as far as the Terriers are concerned. From a Paladin standpoint, I think there are some things that you're going to see a little bit different this week. Number one, I think we're going to see more of Devin Wynn. It would not surprise me at all, in fact, if he does not have a heavy workload, trying to get the running game established, trying to get them to be more physical, trying to get the backs to be a little better, a little quicker at hitting the holes, something that Clay Hendricks has talked about publicly with us and on his Monday show, needing a little better production. The offensive line, for the most part, they've been happy with. There have been obviously some things that they'd like to get shored up. But again, when you talk about protecting the quarterback and what they've done there, they've been very good in doing that. The question is, can they do better in the running game? And to that end, I think we're going to see a little more of Devin Wynn this weekend. You're going to see, obviously, Ryan Miller try to be featured in the passing attack, as is always the case. And you'd like to see him get some help there, waiting for maybe Ryan DeLuca to have a breakout game as well. Bottom line is this, and again, this is no secret. The book has been kind of out on how to play Furman, and you watch, whether it's the games that we've already played or you watch what Wofford is going to do. They are going to bring everybody up, for the most part, to within 6, 7, 8 yards of the line of scrimmage. They're going to stack the box and dare Furman to beat them through the air. And the bottom line with the Furman offense so far this season has been quite simple. Yeah, they need to run the ball better, no question about that. But there have been plays in the passing game that have not been made that could have led to a lot more points. And in talking with Clay and George Quarles this week, the absolute most disappointing stat when they look at everything this offense has done is red zone production, or more to the point, lack of it. The Paladins have been in the red zone 10 times this season and only scored 3 touchdowns. That's 30%. The threshold they shoot for is no less than 70%. So that's an issue. Clay told us after the game at Mercer that the freshman Jace Wilson was going to be in the mix to start the game. He was battling and continues to battle with Hamp Sisson at the quarterback spot. That will be announced right before the game as to who will get the start there. But whoever it is, you're going to have to be successful against a defense that is stacking the box and daring you to make plays in the passing game. Whoever that quarterback is going to have to hit those throws. The Paladins need a win. Wofford needs a win. And when you put those two things together, not necessarily desperation so much, but a sense of urgency, this is already an intense rivalry. I expect it to be even more so Saturday at Gibbs Stadium. Taking a quick look at the series history, we mentioned it is, despite Georgia and Auburn's claim, the oldest rivalry in the Deep South. Furman leads the all-time series 54-33 at 7. Wofford leads the series played in Spartanburg, and at Gibbs Stadium it is 9-8. And you can see the head coaches' records against each other. And the last Wofford win was at Gibbs Stadium the last time these teams played, 24-7, a game that the Paladins got off to a quick start with a big run by Wayne Anderson Jr. out of the option game, went up 7-0, and that was the only score that they had in the game. The rest of the Southern Conference schedule for this weekend, Chattanooga's at VMI. That's also a 1:30 kick. Mercer is at Western Carolina at 3:30, and the Citadel on the road at ETSU, a 4:30 kick. All conference games, those are your 4 games in the Southern Conference this week. So we're looking forward to having you on board for the broadcast if you're not going to Gibbs Stadium. If you are, take your radio with us, because ESPN Upstate, our flagship station, has not only 97.7 FM here in Greenville, but 97.1 FM in Spartanburg. So you can listen to the game in real time in the stadium in Spartanburg by tuning in to 97.1 FM. If you're not going, of course, the game is on ESPN3. However, also at the Furman Paladin Facebook page, we have been doing something new this year, and that is bringing you Booth Cam. You get to listen to the ESPN Upstate radio broadcast, but watch what's happening in the booth. Watch the interaction between myself, David Cobb, Tom Van Hoy, and of course Marcus McMorris is down on the sidelines. You don't see him very often. You hear him. But see the three of us and the interaction going on in the booth. The numbers for that have been fantastic, better than I ever dreamed they would be just starting it up. And we hope that that's another unique little vantage point that you can watch the game from if you choose to do so. You'll get the radio broadcast there. You'll get it on 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 in Spartanburg, online at espnupstate.com, at the odyssey.com website or the Odyssey app. All those ways you can get it. You can get that link at furmanpaladins.com at the football schedule page as well. Countdown to kickoff brought to you by Pepsi begins at noon, and the kick between the Paladins and the Terriers is at 1:30 from Gibbs Stadium in Spartanburg. Hope that you'll enjoy the broadcast, and more importantly, hope that the Paladins can get a big win this week, get back on the winning side of the ledger, and get their first conference victory here in SoCon play. Look forward to having you along for the broadcast. Thank you for indulging us on this week's preview video. The Ingles Furman Radio Network, happy to bring it to you. And we'll talk to you on Saturday at noon from Gibbs Stadium. Until then, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.